Mine. Yours.
Appreciate that. What you got?
So I got this when I went to the Field Museum 2 years ago. It says, hold on, let me just give a solo layout. It says, Murder Bird sued the T-Rex. Murder Bird because, birds are theropods. Theropods, like the T-Rex, had feathers. So birds should have feathers. The T-Rex was basically a giant bird. Yes, birds didn't directly descend from T-Rexes, but the chicken is the closest living relative of a T-Rex.
So they went
fact.
Here, just to here, right now.
Give the theropods feathers. But anyways, Josh, before we get on to our review of Jurassic World, which will be spoiler light, so, some minor things may get spoiled if you haven't seen the movie, but nothing major. But I wanted to talk about the box office because it's so funny, Josh. All these people were so convinced that this movie was going to fail in the box office. It like I will tell you, Josh, when I went to see this movie on Wednesday, there was applause. The theater not only was full, there was freaking applause. And I'm going to be honest, I'm someone who thinks applauding for movies is stupid. I'm not going to lie, but I can definitely recognize the impact of when there is applause, because that is huge. That is really huge. And let me just share my screen again. And Jurassic World Rebirth bites off $318 million at the global box office. Dang. For this past week, Josh. $318 million.
That's some money. No pressure. Other movies coming out this week.
Jurassic World, the franchise ruled the 4th of July holiday box office with a global 5-day launch of $318.3 million, according to the studio estimates Sunday.
And that number might go higher back then, because these are just the estimates, right? Because they have no, they have a formula of calculation, but they've sometimes, with big franchises like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, they underestimate and then they end up going higher. So we'll see Monday with the actual numbers. So, but
it's so funny. All these people who kept campaigning saying this movie's gonna fail, they're moving the goalposts now. They're like, oh, but there's gonna be a big drop the next week. There's gonna be a huge drop the next week.
I don't know why. I don't know anything significant coming out. Jurassic, this franchise, this is the original Batman. This is the original Jurassic Park. This was in '93 when my little sister was born. I was 5 years old. And I remember my mother taking me to see this, and just not into scary movies, but love dinosaurs. And now we're on part 7, still going strong. Sorry, other franchises trying to come out in July.
Yep, exactly. This is the dinosaur month. Which also, by the way, Jurassic is also kind of a misnomer for an era with a T-Rex, because T-Rexes did not exist in the Jurassic era. They existed in the Cretaceous era. In fact, not only that, a T-Rex, they're closer in distance time-wise to us than they are the Stegosaurus.
So that's why we love T-Rex so much. He gets us.
Sorry, I like dinosaurs. But anyways, let's get on to the movie about the 7th movie about the scientifically inaccurate dinosaurs without feathers, aside from the one in the last movie that had feathers. But the theropods had feathers. Maybe not the adult T-Rex. That's actually is debate about the adult T-Rex, but definitely young T-Rexes, and they likely did have some feathers somewhere, just not over their entire body. But anyways, I'm gonna let you start before I get too on about this feathered rant.
I appreciate your knowledge, Bat Dan. It's going to help the conversation here. So thank you for the scientifically accurate explanations. But no, this movie I got to see it early, as I usually do. Doesn't always happen with bigger movies, so I wasn't sure. And I actually got this hat when I saw Dominion, and I think it's a shirt I got around the same time as well. So I just brought it back. But it's always a pleasure to see this franchise still going. I was a little worried about, the change in the cast, but they assembled an awesome cast. And I don't think it's as strong as the previous cast. However, it's the first one, right? And you have to start from scratch somewhere. And I do appreciate that the movie did try to be a rebirth in a sense, right? So if you are bogged down, because there's like my niece loves dinosaurs. She's 6 years old. I don't think she's seen every single Jurassic. I know she's seen some Jurassic Parks and worlds, but not every single one, right? So as an entry point, this is amazing for, hey, you gonna go see dinosaurs eat people? Yeah! So I really appreciated that aspect with it, with a kind of a blank slate. It's the world, right? It's the universe that we know, but there's a new objective. There's a new scheme that Engine, has basically set in motion, and it's really fun to see the mystery and the new dinosaurs. Someone put feathers on a Christmas. That's Bat Dan's preferred dinosaur.
Well, actually, my favorite dinosaur is the Triceratops, which did not have feathers because they were not a theropod. But anyways, yeah. But I like what you said, Josh, about this being a good entry point, because honestly, I think it needed kind of a soft reboot, because critically, the last two movies were not that good. And honestly, I did not like the last two movies that much. I liked the first Jurassic World, but the other two were kind of meh. Fallen Kingdom was awful, in my opinion. That one just made no sense. So I think it kind of needed this soft reboot, honestly. I think it was good that they changed the cast, because one is, don't make people have to rewatch the last three movies for this one to make sense. Just don't do that. I like that they did that. And again, this is spoiler light, so basically they kind of undo the whole dinosaurs are all over the earth thing, basically due to climate change, yada yada yada. They can only exist by the equator. That's basically what they did. They kind of made it so that they kind of regressed dinosaurs back to the one area. Of course, I wonder how one dinosaur is going to live. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I like that they did that, though. I think this movie really needed exactly what they gave us, which was that soft reboot, that reset. So that's why I was kind of okay with it, because okay, the whole Lion King ripoff at the end of the last movie, like they literally ripped off a thing from Lion King with the dinosaurs inserted. Like the whole, when you see the animals lining up in the sunset, they ripping that scene off, like, come on, really? But anyways, this is what the franchise needed, and it was a great cast. ScarJo was great, Mahershala Ali was great. I love those two, and the scientist guy was great. I love the cast, and all the characters were likable. I will say that I definitely noticed, though, that some of the characters were there to just die. Like, they basically were in the movie to die. That was kind of obvious. It's like, they're talking about this character a lot, but they're not talking about this character a lot. They may be going next. There was moments of, not saying that was the entire movie, but it was definitely certain points of the movie where that was in there.
I can see that. For sure.
But, Josh, I have to confess something. I did not realize Atticus Noble was in this movie.
Yes. Both Atticus Nobles, actually. Because corporate guy was the original Atticus Noble. And then we got Atticus Noble doing the Spider-Man point to each other. We got the would-be with Rupert Friend, I think his name. And then Ed Skrein, the actual Atticus Noble. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that either. Damn.
Yeah.
Rebel Moon Theory, you still in this chat?
Rebel Moon Theory, we need you. Yeah, from what I understand, Rupert Friend, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, I apologize. But he was originally cast as Atticus Noble in Rebel Moon, and there were scheduling conflicts. I don't know. I don't think it was this movie. I think it was something else because of COVID. And there he is.
We were talking about how both Atticus Nobles were in this movie. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, and then so Ed Skrein, Francis from Deadpool came and did an amazing job in my opinion. The role, like I think Ed Skrein, kind of owned that role. But it was also really cool seeing him with hair. I got a kick out of that, seeing those locks. I was like, oh, Atticus Noble has hair.
That's why I did not recognize him, though, because I wasn't necessarily looking for it. So he was dressed up really well. That's a sign of a good actor, though. The fact that he could play this completely different character, and I didn't even realize it was him. Because sometimes there's certain, I'm not gonna lie, like there's certain characters in this movie, like Scarlett Johansson. Her Bennett's whatever. Like I call her Scarlett Johansson. I'm not gonna lie. I called the character Scarlett Johansson the entire time. But yeah, Atticus Noble, I didn't recognize him. So that's a sign of a good actor, though. Just saying. But I guess another question I have is, what's a character that stood out to you?
Yeah, so that was gonna be my next point. The three that were kind of my MVPs. I did love all the cast. I thought ScarJo did great. Mahershala it was amazing seeing basically Black Widow and Blade team up, right, and fight some dinosaurs. But for me, actually, the dark horses of the movie franchise were Xavier, if you know, you know. Ed Skrine's character, forget his name in the movie, so he was actually a highlight for me. And the third was actually Dr. Loomis, Jonathan Bailey. I loved his character so much. He was kind of our Ian Malcolm, right? Our Jeff Goldblum, but also kind of mixed with Alan Grant at the same time. Kind of like the nerdy guy, but he could also pull up, rough up his sleeves and get down and dirty doing that rock climbing and everything. He's like, oh, I rock climb at my gym. She's like, it's a little different than your gym, or just like your gym, actually. So I just love that he was kind of like a composite character, right, of Ian Malcolm and Alan Grant from the original franchise. So that callback just did a lot for me. And Jonathan Bailey, I was a huge fan. Most people have known him in Wicked right now as a standout, but he is an amazing actor. He's been in so many things. I believe he's in Bridgerton or something like that, or Gilded Age, or one of those. So he's bringing in different fan bases from different franchises, and I think he's part of this movie's success just as much as ScarJo and Mahershala and Ed Skrein, and all the other cast members. And I think that for me, he was a standout. So I really appreciated him.
And that's great, though, that there were all these characters that were great, and that we have different favorite characters. It shows the power of the cast. And I did like the family in the movie, too. They were great. I like seeing the boyfriend, because I'm not going to lie, when the boyfriend's there, I wanted him to die. When I first saw him, I'm like, oh, please just kill this character off. I'm not going to lie that if you haven't seen the movie, you'll know why. But then as time went on, they developed the character. And I was kind of like, please don't have him die. Please don't let him die. And I was so happy or upset when he did or didn't die at the end of the movie, So it was a great, but it's character development that I like, is that, you're kind of this hot shot, but like when push comes to shove and you're in danger, you really step up. It's like, sometimes it's like your life being in danger, being in a perilous situation, it can really shape you up. It can really make you more mature. And I really like seeing that in this movie. And there's a quote that the dad said to the boyfriend I really liked. And I'm not going to say this in this review. We'll talk about it in the spoiler review, but it's a really good quote that I really liked. And it's little things like that was extra good writing right there. Not because, let's be honest, they could have just made a movie where they fight dinosaurs and people would have eaten it up. But little things like that make the movie a lot better. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's certain times where characters make dumb choices. I'm like, you don't need this right now. You don't need to risk your life to get this particular item right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And then, I mean, that's definitely in the movie. There's definitely moments of stupidity. Like this isn't early in the movie, so let's just say, interesting how Snickers killed someone. We'll say that interesting how Snickers are really deadly. So, but I guess, are there any kind of issues you had with the movie that non-spoiler or spoiler light issues you had with the movie?
No, actually, I just wanted to kind of comment on what you said about. Okay, I guess maybe it's commenting on what you said. For me, I will say that this movie, I don't want to be disingenuous. It did sort of miss some of the magic for me, some of the moments. However, so it's not the magic wasn't as inherent throughout. So I would kind of criticize it a little bit for that. However, like you said, the moments that are there that are kind of a little bit few and far between, but they did hit for me. And what you're talking about, that scene with the dad, who I loved, by the way, the dad was just, you know, the thing I liked about this movie, back then, kind of going back to what I was talking about before with Ezra. This movie and these characters are all about loyalty. They're all about having big hearts, standing up when push comes to shove, and doing the right thing, no matter how uncomfortable you are. Right? Just like what Ezra Miller did. That happens within Jurassic World Rebirth, where an unlikely, group of characters rally and show loyalty when it's needed for people that did stuff for them, right? So it's basically a, mutual companionship between these characters to stay alive in this Jurassic world that they live in. And I really liked that because the dialogue that you're talking about, which I think we can say, right, that there will be a spoiler review next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. And I specifically planned it on a particular weekend for a reason. I'll say that.
So we'll go in more in depth next week, next Sunday, I think. But I will say that quote, just when it said, my entire theater, I turned with the person I went with, and I looked at, and like the entire theater had a reaction, like, hit you like right there in the heart. And there's several moments for me that were in this movie. So yeah, that's one thing I want to commend about the movie, is that when the moments do hit, they hit hard. And that's why one of the reasons I liked it. So go see Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yes, I agree. See Jurassic World Rebirth. I have not Futuretron. I have not seen the movie or the trailer, but I'll definitely check it out. But if they don't have feathers on the T-Rex, I'm out. But I will say, one thing I will say is that there's definitely a Grogu character in this movie, a character that I feel like it kind of exists to sell merchandise. I still like the character, but I'm not going to lie. I definitely feel like they wanted to sell a toy to kids with this character. But, as long as the character is likable, it's okay to do. But I'm not going to act like this character is purely in there for the movie.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But that character was also, I forgot to mention, of the human characters, that's who I mentioned. But this character is also of MVP. So we'll save that for this spoiler review.
And we will not give a rating for this one yet, because we're going to give the rating in our spoiler review, which we're planning. This is tentative, but again, we saw with One Punch Man, things can change. Tentative for next Sunday, July 11th or 13th. It's the 13th. Because I figured, you know what? I would love to do a review, give engagement to Jurassic World, get the week another movie comes out. I just thought that'd be so poetic. And since I'm going to rewatch the movie before the spoiler review, I figured, you know what, let's just wait to give the rating till I rewatch it, see if my opinion changes. But overall, it's a good movie. It's a basic plot, but that's okay, honestly. Not every movie has to be some phenomenal masterpiece. The movie did what it was supposed to, so go see the movie and check out Josh and my review on this movie next week. The whole stream will be dedicated to Jurassic World next week, so be on the lookout for that. But
Life finds it.
Now, time for another wardrobe change. Hashtag give the theropods feathers.